Welcome back to another Minecraft update video. This might be the last one of the 1.14 cycle because 1.14.4 has now been released, and here on the website it says that they plan on this being the final release for 1.14 and they're going to move on to 1.15, which will have some new features, but also they're going to focus on quality and performance improvements. That might mean that 1.15 overall will be a bit of a smaller update, but that's just me speculating and thinking on it. This video is all about 1.14.4. As you can see, there is a big list of changes and bug fixes as well. Just in case you didn't catch it, I've done a video on 1.14.1, 0.2 and 0.3, so check the updates playlist in the description box down below where you can get a deeper dive on pre-release 1 and pre-release 4 for this update as well. This video, however, will be a little bit different than my normal update video style because we have 6 pre-releases worth of bugs and feature changes and whatnot to get through, so a lot more of the explanations in this video are going to be very brief and to the point. This update does come with performance improvements and optimizations. It said in pre-release 6 that traveling at high speeds will load chunks better than it did previously. An example of this in survival would be travelling along a boat on an ice path like you might do in the Nether. One of the big issues I've seen time and time again over the years with this game is memory leaks. If we look in the top right corner, you can see how much memory is currently being used. And if you spend a lot of time in the client logging out of worlds, logging back into them, same for the server, slowly you can start to accumulate junk in the memory that doesn't get cleared out, and then eventually that can bring the game to a halt and you have to restart the client. It's a bit of an annoyance, but supposedly with this update we should never see that problem happen again. And there's good news. If you play on a server or you're an administrator, you probably would have seen that 1.14 hadn't been doing too well in multiplayer. Well, an issue with the idle usage of the CPU has been discovered, and it was way higher in 1.14 than it would have been in 1.13. So with that optimization brought to the game, hopefully multiplayer is going to perform better in this update as well. Speaking of playing on a server, this is something we all probably encounter quite often playing online. You're digging downwards and there's a little bit of lag and you get pushed out to the side. You might just think that that's normal, but it's actually possible to play on a server without this happening, and that has been considered as a bug, which I reported to the bug tracker, and it's been taken care of. So now when you're playing on a server and you mine downwards, you shouldn't get pushed off to the side. And speaking of servers, on the administrative side there are some powerful changes. Reload and force load are now available to Games Masters. This is a nickname for the OP level of a player, so it would be the equivalent of OP level 2. If you're unaware, different commands are available to different OP levels. This is a page on the Minecraft wiki and you can see the commands and the different OP levels that they have. We also have function permission level. This is a new setting, as it says, inside of the server properties. It allows you to give an OP level to functions, which means functions will now be able to use these different commands based on what OP level they are. So if you wanted your function to be able to restart the server at a certain time or event, you can give it the OP level and it would be able to do that. On a small technical note, you may also notice that 1.14.4 is considerably larger than the previous update, and that's because the Realms library has now been merged into the main jar, so there's all the information for Realms in there as well now. We also got another new feature, which is the debug report command. This, I believe, has the potential to be rather powerful in the future if used with some sort of external tool, as it will provide a ton of information about what's going on in the world. So inside your debug folder it will create this debug report zip file, and then inside of that there are of course other files. The most interesting of these text files here is the game rules one. It actually prints off all the game rules that you currently got set in the world you're running. And inside of the levels folder you go into Minecraft and you can actually get a report from each of the dimensions separately, which is really cool. And inside of here there's a bunch of files. Entities has all of the entities that are running in your world and additional information about them. Block entities are for things like mob spawners and chests, as you can see here, and then there are some additional stats as well. And all of this stuff right here I think could be really helpful in determining what's going wrong in a world when you have some lag or some issues. As of right now though, it is a bit of a mess to look at, which is why I think you probably need an external tool to help you go through all this information. And now a couple of quick things. Ping the Human has been added to the list of text that can appear next to the Minecraft logo. And if you play on Realms, the player activity button, which is greyed out in this screenshot, will actually be removed entirely from Realms. A small bug caused the direct connect not to work if you were to press enter on the URL instead of clicking on join server. And in this game there's what's known as Unicode characters, which are used for languages that have special symbols in them or special lettering, and there were a few missing from a couple of languages, so those have been added in and are now supported. Now in this update there are quite a lot of changes to villagers. They've been tweaked and rebalanced to some extent, and we're going to go through the large list of things to do with them later on in this video. First of all, I'm going to breeze through tons of the bug fixes and take a moment just to say, if you're enjoying the video and you're not subscribed, then consider doing so. This is probably the last video that I'm doing on 1.14, as I believe 1.14.4 is going to be the last thing that Mojang do before moving on to 1.15. So if you want to catch all of the information about that in the future, then make sure you subscribe. So on to the bug fixes. This is just a reoccurring one from 1.13, but when you're using a bucket with a fish inside of it and you place that fish back into the ocean, it was unfortunately counting them towards the mob cap, which it shouldn't do. If you picked up a mob in a bucket and you put it back in the water, it should be separate from that mob cap, which it now is again. It was possible to drop concrete powder onto a waterlogged slab or any type of waterlogged block, and it would erroneously replace that block with the concrete it was trying to make. This is no longer possible, as that's been removed. If you have a tamed fox, they can of course attack any creatures that you attack in the world. However, if you attacked yourself, the fox would then attack you. That's not going to be possible anymore. And it might not be obvious in this video, but it had been spotted that achacha leaves could create like a dark brown tint. It's really quite ugly, and that's been taken care of. Achacha leaves will now look nice and green and fresh. It is also stated in pre-release 7 that the rendering of leaf blocks should be significantly better, and also I got a tip from one of the developers. If you go into the settings and mess around with biome blend, it's possible that this influences the performance of your game based on your hardware configuration. So if you're trying to get better frames, maybe mess around with the biome blend option and hopefully you'll get better performance from the game. Giving a brown mushroom poppies to make a suspicious stew would have given you speed, but now it's been changed to give you night vision. Because of this change, it meant that some villagers were still trading suspicious stews that would give you the speed effect. You can no longer get speed from a suspicious stew when trading with a villager. The zombie sieges that were re-added to the game could take place even when mob spawning was set to false, and they could take place on mushroom islands as well. Neither of these things will happen in this update. Zombie sieges will now also comply with regular mob spawning rules, so that means if you've placed down torches to light up the area or you've put slabs into place, the zombie sieges won't spawn on top of them, so you can protect your villages. Pillagers have had their pathfinding improved, including not knowing where to go when they're on top of waterlogged slabs, which is kind of amusing. There was also an issue with the pillager texture in the shoulders. As you can see from this screenshot, the correction has been made. End cities and end ships could also generate with parts of them missing, and this was due to where chunk borders were and them not generating over the chunk border. This should be corrected in this update. All the different types of wall signs were using the same colour when appearing on a map, which was the colour of the oak block, but now they all have their own colours when appearing on a map. And for some reason or another, rabbits were able to spawn on any type of block during this update, and it's now been reverted back to how it used to be. They can only spawn on sand and on grass. There was an issue with mob cages that stopped silverfish spawning from them, and also endermites, which of course you can't find in survival Minecraft, but it stopped those as well. So the beacon block has a powering up sound, and it has a powering down sound as well. You can hear it when you break the beacon. Now, it was considered a bug that you didn't hear this if you were to break a block in the base of the beacon. So we're going to do that now. But then we can break the beacon again and hear it twice. So you fix one, you introduce another. If you're unaware, zombies can be converted into drowns, and this happens when they spend too much time underwater. Now, the instance at which a zombie turns into a drowned, if it is killed within that very tick, the zombie would actually drop its loot table and convert to the other type of mob. So if you had a zombie that could pick up any type of item, let's say diamond blocks, and you killed it right as it was converting into a drowned, it would drop the diamond blocks and the drowned would have the diamond blocks too. So that's a nasty duplication glitch, and it's no longer in the game. There were 3 bugs related to mending. If you were in survival mining these blocks, they would of course drop XP, and when the XP reaches your mending pick and it absorbs it, that would actually cause the pick to sort of reset on its mining. So it could slow down the mining of blocks. It's very subtle, you probably would have never noticed it. This also affected bows and crossbows. If you were drawing and the XP reached you, the mending would kick into effect and actually set the bow or the crossbow back to its normal state, so it would sort of slow you down. Those things have been taken care of and they're not going to be in this update. And last of all, when it comes to mobs, the wolf wasn't using its AI correctly when it was attacking other creatures, so the game should perform slightly better when these things are trying to attack other mobs. So all that's left now are the things related to the villagers. We're going to go through their bug fixes first of all, and of course there has been optimizations to the way they perform in the game and their AI and pathfinding and all of that good stuff. The first bug though is related to them not picking up items, so when they go and harvest crops they would move on to the next one too quickly and not take the time to pick up the crop. So villagers have an inventory, and this means that they can pick up items like you saw just there. And when their inventory was full, it was causing any other item they would try and pick up to turn invisible, yet it would still be in the world. They can also craft the wheat that I just threw them into bread and give that to other villagers, but unfortunately what they were doing was throwing away all the bread in their inventory rather than just a single piece to another villager. So pillagers have what are called workstations, which would be like a grindstone like this one right here. However, this one is inside of a room with no access to it, and the villagers were then using that as their workstation even though they would have no access to it. So now to use a workstation they need direct access to it, and their range for detecting these workstations has been increased as well. The villagers also picked up a terrible habit of not closing doors after them, which was considered a bug, so you'll see them close doors after them again. There was also a nasty bug that unfortunately caused the trading prices to permanently go downwards or upwards. I guess it's only nasty if it made it more expensive, right? And there was a bug that could cause the trade with a librarian to give you a different enchantment. So you would do a regular trade like this, and then when you took the book, even though it'd say it was multi-shot, you would get something different. Of course, that's annoying, and that's actually the last of the bugs. So in this game we can convert a zombie villager into a regular villager, and that's a good thing, and of course that gives us cheaper trades. The cool change is that those cheap trades are actually going to stay, but what is also going to stay is the gossip that they develop when they have been converted. And because they will now remember these things, it means you can convert a zombie villager into a regular villager, then use a zombie to convert them back and back again, and each time you do that you're going to be able to make your trades cheaper and cheaper until they're the cheapest possible. And they're also going to remember that gossip, and they're going to share it with other villagers as well. So it'd be a cool way to boost your rating with your villagers in total and get cheaper trades from them. Villagers will also now be able to trade more items overall. So when I trade this redstone I'll be able to get more at once than I ever was able to get before, because the amount has been increased. You're also able to trade with these twice in a day. So see how this trade is locked at the moment? Doing other trades won't unlock it. We have to wait until the villager has restocked. We also have to wait 2 minutes as well. So if we do it right as they're about to restock, we'd have to wait an additional 2 minutes before we can get access to that trade again. And last of all, the villagers will be able to do their regular work in the village without having to restock before they continue doing their work. And that is it, 1.14.4, probably the last of this update cycle. It'll be a while before we learn anything about 1.15, which should be around Minecon in September, if they stick to traditions. And I'll of course be covering that here on the channel, so another reason to make sure you're subscribed, and of course, please do leave a like and support the video, share it with your friends, do all that cool stuff, and thank you for watching. I'll see you soon in another video. Bye bye!